Can you beat Skyrim without attacking anything? Can you beat Skyrim without taking damage? Can you beat Skyrim as a group? Can you beat Skyrim without Skyrim? Can you beat Skyrim as a scheme? Can you beat Skyrim? Can you beat Skyrim with You watch one Skyrim video on this godforsaken platform, and the next thing you know, you're in this ditch of the algorithm where everyone's trying to beat a decade-old game in the most tedious way possible. But you know what no one else has tried yet? My gimmick. Today I ask the question, can you beat Skyrim as a vegan? And well, that prospect is a little more complicated than you might imagine.
There's one they fear. In their tongue, he is Dovahkiin, Dragonborn.
Hey, you're finally awake.
That's right, Rayloff. I am awake. You might say I'm woke, even. Woke to the many injustices inflicted upon animal kind. That one, for instance. That right there. You see, we're defining veganism as exactly what the vegan society states, which is excluding, as far as is possible and practicable, all forms of exploitation of, and cruelty to, animals for food, clothing, or any other purpose. Putting a horse in servitude to pull a cart is a form of exploitation. So, does this mean our vegan run is already over? No, of course not. I'm not giving up that easily. This particular situation isn't in our control. Our character is a prisoner without agency who we don't even really get full command over until our head gets nearly chopped off in a couple minutes. But before that,
hello.
We need to actually have a head. So let's go through character creation and choose a race. Ultimately, there isn't a wrong choice here. No group of people is inherently non-vegan. Aside from, maybe like Uruguayans, if per capita beef consumption is any indication.
Look at this country! You are gay.
But there is, however, an amateur mistake one could make when choosing a race that I bet most people wouldn't fully consider. That mistake would be choosing a Bosmer or Wood Elf as the obvious vegan option due to their supposed connection to nature. This connection is unfortunately expressed through game mechanics in their command animal ability, which, fundamentally, compelling an animal to fight on your behalf, arcane or otherwise, is not vegan. That makes this a wasteful choice of a special ability within a run that is, spoiler alert, one where we're gonna need every possible advantage that we can get our hands on. You see, I played through most of this challenge months ago, with very little planning while drinking fairly heavily. Honestly, that's kind of how I've been dealing with life in general for the past few years. Anyway, because of these circumstances, a lot of the strategy I came up with was assessing problems as they presented themselves and just throwing dumb ideas at the wall to see what would stick. I experimented with different approaches, reloaded saves constantly, and basically stumbled around like a total idiot between lengthy pauses where I was forced to brush up on Elder Scrolls lore. When it came to a choice in race, I chose to play an Imperial, and this was because I thought there would be some value in the Voice of the Emperor ability, which works as a nice get-out-of-combat-free effect once per day. It really seemed like the best option.
But it wasn't.
Now, I understood, going in relatively uninformed, that this first attempt would be an imperfect run, and so I designed my character's body and face to fit the most stereotypically unflattering caricature of a vegan that I could muster. Lowest muscle slider, poorly kempt, alternative haircut, pale patchy skin, overall just sickly looking vibes. You know, the sort of figure the average normie imagines when they think of a vegan. The Kwisatz Haderach of anti-vegan YouTube thumbnails. I gave this character the name Soy Boy Aurelius because not only does that last name coincidentally fall in line with lore-appropriate imperial naming conventions, but it's also a cheeky reference to this big carnivore lifestyle grifting account on Twitter, Carnivore Aurelius, who I like to pester, as a bit. Fun tangent. I reply guide to this dude for so long that he actually hit me up in my DMs and offered to pay me to make carnivore memes for him because he claims to think that I'm funny. I turned him down, obviously. I'm not gonna make propaganda for something I have a literal moral opposition toward. Anyway, we narrowly escape getting our head chopped off, dash over to Helgen Keep, and then the real show begins.
I'm Mr. Bones. I love you.
We have two things in our inventory by default, foot wraps and a rough spun tunic, both of which look like they may have some leather incorporated, so gotta drop them. However, just under our clothing is this default outfit that we cannot remove, and it looks to contain some leather as well, regardless of whether we pick the male or female player model. This was a frustrating find, and at first I thought about maybe even modding the game to remove it. So just imagine my surprise when I find the sheer quantity of mods solely dedicated to doing exactly that. I didn't realize just how many vegan gamers there are out there. Jokes aside, by strict definition, this probably means our run isn't 100% vegan. But like with most of the other videos on this channel, I tend to give a pass to default, unremovable equipment that doesn't impact gameplay. We'll just try to find something to cover it up as soon as we can. Rayloff tells me to grab some gear off this dead guy so I can better defend myself, but the armor is chock full of leather and the axe has a leather handle. This probably gives you a bit of an idea of what we're in for here when it comes to equipment, but just wait because it's actually way worse than you think. These two come through the door to kill us, forcing me into a scenario where I must defend myself with only my fists while wearing a loincloth. Rayloff honestly puts in most of the legwork here, and while no, he's not sticking to our vegan philosophy, he's a separate NPC that I have no authority over, so his actions, equipment, diet, etc. aren't in my control. Don't worry though, I won't be abusing this as some sort of loophole where I just have companions that beat the game for me. We'll be immediately parting ways with Rayloff as soon as the game allows. These two drop some equipment, and pretty much all of it has leather incorporated in some way. Except for this sword and this helmet. The sword, when equipped, however, has a leather sheath. But I mean, at least we get the helmet. I don't see any leather there. No, not quite. This is where we gotta talk about the smithing skill. Every single smithable piece of armor and weaponry in the entirety of Skyrim is made with leather, even if it doesn't appear on the end product. Okay, so technically there's a caveat to this statement. This doesn't actually apply to bows, but to get any real functional use from a bow, you need arrows as well. And literally all the arrows in the game include feathers, which aren't vegan, so that's kind of pointless. Anyway, I would imagine that this universal leather requirement is probably something that the devs implemented merely to make smithing materials less monolithic. It's already an easy skill to abuse and level up. Can you imagine how much easier it would be to break Skyrim's flimsy level scaling system if you only needed metal ingots? I get it, they're throwing some variety into gameplay. But for us, this means that even if we can't see leather, it's technically there. Leather is always used to make these items, which means we can't use any craftable armor or weapons in the entire game. That makes the prospect of melee combat, both offensive and defensive, pretty dire. Undeterred, however, we waltz ahead, deal with two more aggressors in a similar manner as the last ones, and Rayloff suggests that we loot some potions. Well, guess what, Rayloff? Here's another fun bit. We can't drink any potions that we find. Alchemy in Skyrim is the skill used to create potions or poisons that can contain a plethora of different ingredients. And a lot of those, in fact, roughly 60% of them, are the products of an animal or some other sentient creature, meaning they're not vegan. Because there's no Imperial Food and Drug Administration legally obligating alchemists to label potion ingredients, we have no way to verify what's in these things, and as a result, it's safest to assume the worst, which is that they're not vegan. Lovely. Continuing just down the stairs here, after a brief scuffle with some torturers, we find this Tome of Sparks. Magic! Why didn't I think of that? Magic's vegan. Right? No, yeah, it totally is. It's magic itself, and the use of it, according to the lore, is vegan in my eyes. There's no exploitation involved. But this tome is plainly bound in either leather or vellum, both of which could be made from animal flesh. And guess what? In order to learn basically any spell in this game, you have to do so through these consumable tomes. This means, yeah, we can't learn magic. Now, I imagine some of you are probably screaming at the screen right now. Hey dunce, you've had access to the heal and flame spells since character creation. Why aren't you using them? Well, because I don't know how our character learned those spells. Like, okay, I understand from the game engine perspective that they were just, acquired at the moment we finished character creation. But from like an in-universe context, I have no idea where we got them. Our character wasn't verified as vegan until the moment that we, the player, took control. Sure, we could conveniently ascribe to them some elaborate backstory where they were a vegan animal rights activist from Cyrodiil who got arrested at the border to Skyrim for committing direct action against hunters. But I find that a little hard to believe considering this leather belt on their undergarments. I mean, sure, it's a role-playing game, and as the player, we're awarded some creative license to impose our own idea as to the character's backstory. And sure, it would be convenient to make a call that lets us use these spells, but I'm not going to utilize a loophole when it's far more likely that these spells were acquired from consumable leather tomes. Now, if I'm going this route, claiming that I can't use these two spells because we can't confirm that they were acquired through vegan means, then does that mean our character can't be considered vegan for merely having access to them in the first place? No, he's fine, dude. And not just because I'm ignoring default stuff either. We have no means of removing these spells without the use of mods or console commands. If we held real-world vegans to this sort of standard, someone who now lives a totally vegan lifestyle couldn't be considered a vegan if they ate meat at any point in their life prior, because the remnants of those animal proteins could theoretically still be incorporated into their body in some manner. My goal here is to make a shitpost video, not to start some vegan ship of Theseus debate. If you disagree with that take, tell me in the comments. It shows you're engaged with my dumb videos and it also helps feed the YouTube algorithm. So yeah, no craftable weapons or armor, no potions that we don't make ourselves, and no magic. This is going to be a fucking slog. I mean, oh my god, no. No, are you kidding me? Is that leather? Oh my god, we can't do lockpicking either? This is fucking insane. As always, I'd like to give a shout out to my wonderful patrons over at patreon.com/poordon'ts. We've recently broken through the barrier of 30 individuals, which means we're closing in on my next goal of 50, at which point I will reveal the problematic origins of my little, avatar/rantsona dude. The guy holding the duck. Anyway, keep an eye on the channel if you'd like to see more of this series. Thanks for watching.